Hey, this is Joe at Gray Bench Electronics. Welcome back to the pedal teardown series where I take apart new and interesting pedals and show you what's going on inside. Today we have a very popular boutique pedal from the UK, the Hudson Broadcast. All right, Hudson Broadcast. So this is a brand new pedal. This is the dual version, so it's got two output volume controls. So if you want a little boost or solo mode, you can just hit the switch and boom, you're over to a second volume control. These were made very recently, or this one was made very recently out of the September batch of this year. Let's crack it open. Inside we got a little sheet talking about the pedal, what the controls do, stickers, pedal's in this nice little canvas pouch. Here's the pedal. So we have the sort of Neves Marconi style knobs. I was actually a little disappointed with the knobs. They're not quite as nice as I was hoping. You can see we got some like paint coming around there. You know, not quite in the slot. The plastic feels a little bit cheap. But I mean, they're not terrible and they work fine. The pots feel nice and smooth, so that doesn't really have to do with knobs. But nice design broadcast placard here. It looks like a lot of pedal builders are doing this where it's sort of the epoxy board material, but it's not actually a PCB. It's just the design. Two latching foot switches. Fairly large amount of pressure needed for the foot switches. It's not some of the softer switches we're seeing come around nowadays. Nice gray feet attached to the back. All right, let's open up the pedal. This one is serial number 2109100. It looks like it's marked HH or MH. It is a Hammond branded enclosure, nice quality enclosure. Paint job is nice, looks like powder coat, sort of a matte finish powder coat. So good quality stuff there. Here is the pedal, it's still inside the enclosure. Now I've seen the inside of Hudson Broadcast before and I was expecting to see strip board. That's how the first number of Hudson Broadcasters were built. However, now it appears that they're doing a PCB, which is fine. You know, not a big deal either way. If anything, the traces can be shorter on a PCB because you don't have the whole strip to deal with. Also, you can have a nice big ground plane, which looks like they did. So we can see we have the transformer that's on the output of the pedal. We've got the germanium transistor and the little silicon transistor in there. A couple filtering caps. We know one of these larger caps is for the bass cut. Let's pull out the guts and have a look. All right, so here's the Hudson Broadcast PCB. This is the 2021 version, September 2021. This is the Broadcast Dual, as we said before. So there are two volume controls, and the switch here just switches between either one, so you can have one a little louder, one a little softer, depending on your needs for when you're playing. Looking around inside here, just touring through the circuit. So the schematic for the Hudson Broadcast is known. It's basically a two-stage amplifier. Where it first goes through a BC549 amplifier stage and then a second germanium, in this case, the part number for the germanium transistor. Let me see if I can get in there. Part number for the germanium transistor is 2N404A, and they are marked NTE, which is a electronics distributor. So not as per usual NTE, there's really no identifying manufacturing marks. I am going to pull out that germanium transistor and I'm going to measure it, and I'm going to put the specs for the transistor right here on the screen. Actually, I'll pull out the BC549 as well, and we'll measure that one. So I'll put up, maybe on the left side here will be the BC549 specs, gain and leakage. Well, just gain. 2N404A germanium transistor over here on the right will have gain and leakage. Hudson did, it looks like Hudson, or I don't know, maybe they had someone do it, probably just Hudson painted over where the identifying marks will be on this transformer. However, earlier versions of the Hudson Broadcast were not painted over, and I don't see any reason to believe this is anything different. All right, so that transformer there should be this one here, which is the Triad TY-141P, and I'll put up a little thing as to the specs on that. That's most likely what this transformer still is. They look nearly identical. Yeah. Hardly a reason to believe they've changed that. They just painted over it. But cat's out of the bag, guys. They did do an interesting thing here with the mounting of the pots, where they actually are using solder lug pots. This is fine. The solder lug pots are generally easier to get a hold of, so I can understand that. Pretty long shafts on these, probably to compensate for these style Marconi knobs. There are the values for the potentiometers. This is the base cut. That's your gain and volume 1, volume 2. Oh, that's interesting. I'm pretty sure schematics show the two volumes as 25K, but these are 250K, so that's maybe one difference. Let's have a look at the solder job here. Grab my inspection light. So solder job looks good. Nice and even solder, nice fillets. It doesn't look like lead-free solder to me, but I think it has to be from the UK. So maybe they're using a different blend. Alpha switches here. We can see the Alpha logo on the edge there. 2 water clear high brightness LEDs that get their color. They get their color from the lenses here in the enclosure. These are called Fresnel lenses. And then we got red for switch on and off, and green for switching the which output potentiometer you have in circuit. I'm not familiar with the manufacturer of these pots. Maybe someone out there knows. A BI, I don't know if that's the manufacturer. They look like the Alpha style pots, 60mm pots. This board is marked 2019. We got 2 little trim pots here. Gain adjusts. We know the Hudson, the sort of magic of the Hudson is the way the 2 emitters for the, well, it would be the emitter for the BC549 and the collector, the way those two sort of combine with each other, there's a connection there between the ground connections for the 2 amplifiers, and that's a lot of where the gain is, and presumably affects the character of the distortion. And these 2 trim pots are on the emitter of Q1, the BC549. And you can manually adjust them here. I can tell you that they are both 1K trim pots, so that's the expected value. And the gain adjust for the high setting is set almost all the way clockwise. The gain adjust for the low setting is completely counterclockwise. Looks like they got a little resettable fuse right there, which is a good idea. Polarity protection. Okay, so I am going to pull out the transistors now. We'll measure them up, and you will have already seen the specs for that, but I'm going to show you the desoldering of that now. Okay, got the 2 transistors removed after a little bit of a struggle, not too bad. Here is the BC549. I don't see any manufacturer markings on it. Looks like that. And we already looked at the germanium transistor, 2N404A, marked LF211B NTE. Standard TO5 package, gray epoxy on the bottom. If I had to guess at a manufacturer for this, I would say Texas Instruments. I feel like I've seen other Texas Instruments that had this sort of softer aluminum outer casing. Hard to say for sure though. Let's test them. Got the Peak Atlas DCA Pro, DCA 75. Let's test the BC549 first. All right, MPN Silicon BJT, HFE of 538, and that's at 5 milliamps on the collector. Leakage of 0, of course. All right, ready to test the germanium. You want to make sure to let germaniums cool off if you desolder them from a board. Any residual heat in the transistor could throw off your readings. I'm also handling the transistor with tweezers here so as to not heat them up or heat up the transistor with my fingers. Yes, even the touch of your hands can throw off measurements of germanium transistors, even just for a few seconds. So make sure to handle in a way that won't introduce any abnormal heat. All right, here we go. 2M404A from the Hudson Broadcast. Got a PMP germanium BJT of 215 HFE. And that's at 5 milliamps on the collector as well. Leakage of 125 milliamps. So that is very high. I've tested other Texas Instruments PMP germaniums that would read like that, so that's not crazy to me. Yep, same thing, 215. Leakage of 118. Let's give it one more. All right, so there you go, 216 HFE, and that's at 5 milliamps on the collector, so probably going to be a little bit lower in circuit, maybe 180 to 200. So as far as I know, the typical values quoted for the Hudson Broadcast for the germanium is like low gain, sort of like Rangemaster territory, but as you can see, the germanium that Hudson is using, at least for modern ones, is higher gain PMP, 200 and 200 or so HFE. So interesting development there. I think I'm going to do something a little special here. I think I might put a transistor socket in the PCB here, and that way you can mix and match germaniums if you want to try something a little different. All right, I've decided that since I put the transistor socket in there, I'm going to go ahead and include another germanium transistor. So this is a little Philco 2N597 PMP germanium transistor, of course. I'm going to include this with the pedal. If you don't know, all the pedals that I do in the Teardown series end up in my reverb store. Check the description for a link to that. Let's test this transistor here. All right, so it's measuring an HFE of 94 and 77 milliamps of leakage. So good quality germanium transistor, about half the HFE of the transistor that Hudson originally installed. So now that you have a transistor socket in there, you can do some experimentation, throw a nice little Philadelphia made, technically just outside of Philadelphia, but who's counting? Little USA made germanium transistor in there. See what you think. So if you want to own this pedal and you want to experiment with germanium transistor like that, check out the reverb store. All right, so that's it for this pedal teardown. We had the Hudson Broadcast today. If you want to own this pedal right here, head down to the description, find the reverb store link. Don't forget, we did a transistor socket mod, so you can start swapping germanium transistors. And I also included an extra Philco germanium transistor, so you can get started experimenting right away. If you enjoyed the video, I appreciate you hitting the like button. Feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to know when I make a new video. I'm Joe from Great Bench Electronics. Thank you for watching.